guys. Soldier boy. Right, let me just whisk up my coffee without making a mess. So we need a cup. So welcome to the UK. Welcome to my kitchen. So I use butter, cream, a little bit of milk. It's a bit overdose, but I do. And I use half decaf, half not decaf. This is my second coffee, but I tend to I will keep watering it down to make it last. So. Defending Elvis Presley fans want the truth. My name is Louis. I am 57. Together with Team Elvis, we defend Elvis and his bloodline. So, a special welcome to you guys. I'm going to turn this into 2 coffees. And the way I do it is I just water it down. That's all I do. Nothing super clever. And then that should last for our live stream. Now this live stream, guys, is going to last at least an hour. At least an hour. Depending on the kids. Depending on what time my wife comes home. Obviously, as soon as my wife comes home, I'm going to turn my attention over to the kids. I hope you can hear me. I think it's going to be a very interesting live, guys. A very interesting live, I hope. So, I hope everyone is well. Just seeing if I can add a bit of honey. The honey seems to have disappeared. So probably no honey today. Tell them about the honey, mommy. Why has the honey disappeared? It doesn't matter. I can live without honey. Right, okay. Soldier boy. Do 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 do. Okay. Right, let's see how many of you are on. This is hot. Hi guys. Yeah, I got the black hair. Got the Elvis hair going on, guys. What's happening? I'm turning into Elvis. How are you? Okay. I got my props are my books. I keep all my books next to me. Guys, send me a book. Any of you want to send me a book? The address is in the description, in the links. I'm building up my collection of books. I have so many books. I love books. Okay. How is everyone? So, who we got on? Let's have a look. Goal. What does that mean? Goal. Someone just goal. Super chats. Choose super chats. Not sure what that means. Right. Okay. Right. So anyone that's bought me a coffee, thank you guys. I love it when you buy me a coffee. I love it when you send me a super chat, super thank you. It's so kind. I love it when you become members. Brilliant. I love it. You know, I'm trying to build up the membership to 100. When we get to 100 members, we're going to have some proper private live streams with members. So let's do this. Okay, I've purposely set the membership at the lowest amount, so it's not. It's literally $1 a month. How is everyone? I think you're going to find this live interesting, guys. Let me just quickly see who's here. We've got Jane, Lady of the Lake, Deborah, Teresa, 2 Janes, Judith Van Cass. Hi, Judith. Valvis. Hi, Valvis. So Valvis, I understand that your email name is in your husband's name. Thank you. I saw a piece in the Daily Mail newspaper today, a photo of just Riley and Lisa. Riley was saying that she doesn't hide her famous grandfather's connection to get where she is today. Okay. Let's have a look. You've ordered yours. So what book are we talking? The Royal Mint is giving away Elvis coins. Yeah, do you know what? I glimpsed on this. Are they actually giving them away? Because I think it came up on one of my feeds. Are they actually giving them away? Put the link up on the 24-hour chat. All right, you pay the postage. Okay, well, that's good. Right, have you got your coffees, guys? The time in the UK is around 2:30 p.m. So for you guys, a lot of you are in America. So what the time? Is it morning time where you are? The dogs are coming. Oh, that is so nice. Let's just quieten the dogs down. Right, quiet. Oh, they're home. Oh, hang on, guys. Right, so, okay, right, well, the kids have just come home, so I'm not sure what to do. I think what we'll do, we'll play a few shorts and we'll see, yeah? I want to read something to you, but I can't read it if the kids are going to be noisy, so I'm going to play some shorts, and we'll go from there. Now, remember, these shorts I made 2 years ago. I'm very proud of these shorts. You're going to enjoy them. Right, let's get the dogs will stop barking in a second. Let's have a look. Now, Dr. Ken Berry gave me a shout out. Dr. Ken Berry, the doctor who I recommend, commented on my video. So there we are, guys. Look, Dr. Ken Berry. It's got 3.35 million subscribers. He's the person that I follow. This man on my diet, on my carnivore diet, on my keto diet. This is the man I follow. He actually commented, "Well done, Louis. People don't know who to trust, and it's hard to argue with your obvious success." And I put, "Thank you so much for your comment. It means a lot to me. Love you and Nisha," because Nisha is his wife. Chuffed to bits, guys. Dr. Ken Berry. Anyway, let's play a video. Let's have a look. I think what I'm going to do, let's see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find that interview. Right, here we go. Is that it? Let's have a look. Let's see if I can find it. Aha! I'm going to put this on for a bit and see what's happening with the kids.
Special, I guess I would call this a 2-year anniversary conversation. We're talking about some of the things related to the fate of Elvis, which was so much fun to work with you on.
Billy Stanley.
Congrats, and thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for writing it.
Well, I couldn't have written it without all your amazing stories. You know, I was just I kind of put the pieces together, but you brought all the gold to the book.
Thank you. Yeah, so interesting to come out. So, I love all the feedback that we got on it. People, really seem to love the book, and I mean, our main. Well, there were several goals for this book when I first started it. The first one was for the fans. And to give them a better perspective of what Elvis was really like, instead of they've only seen just one side of Elvis, the entertainer side. They never got to see the man that was off the stage, and that's what I wanted to show, that guy. And also do something positive about him, because there's been a lot said and done about him since he's passed away. And then sadly, I was really hoping. I mean, we even discussed this before it even came out.
Remember, we're live, so don't talk too loud. Let's have a look. Well, to be honest with you, I didn't think you were coming home for like 2 hours.
Away, I'm sure it wasn't good, but I wanted her to see her dad in a different light, to where she would go, my dad really was a good person, and he was. And I really,
I'm not going to do a long one.
When she
Then I'm going to go.
Away, it was just maybe a month or so after the book come out, and that just devastated me. I mean, I still have a hard time when I think about her passing. I just, it's just too surreal for me. So.
It's interesting to me that even just in the last couple of years, there have been a lot of major things come out about Elvis in terms of, a couple of movies. Of course, one of those was the massive Elvis movie that came out with Austin Butler starring as Elvis. And, of course, there are always Elvis books coming out. There have been a couple. Was a really great documentary that came out about the 68 comeback special. I noticed there's another one coming out, I think, on Netflix pretty soon. Lisa Marie's book just came out literally a couple weeks ago. We're recording this near the end of October. And why do you think there is still such an enduring impact that Elvis has on people in general and the culture? I mean, it's been many decades since he passed away. What is it about Elvis and his music and his life, do you think, that still people are so fascinated by?
Well, if I knew that, then I would tap into the secret. I would try it myself, but no. I think he touched people's soul with his music, and I mean, unlike any other art. I mean, there's a lot of great artists. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the Beatles, the Who, and the Beach Boys, all that stuff. But I mean, he was the first. I mean, I think he was the first one to go there and break ground where all these other bands could come in and follow his lead. So, but I think his music, his scope of music, touched everybody in some way. So,
I remember when we started working on this book.
600,000 people go through Graceland every year, and it's the second most visited place in the United States besides the White House. It's it's phenomenal. I'm sure Elvis is, kind of looking down, going, "Wow, I can't believe it's so old." Because he always thought people would forget him when he passed away.
Wow, that's absolutely stunning to me that he would think that. Even knowing how many people loved him during his lifetime, but I guess there's always that fear there that somebody's going to be forgotten. Well, I've got a bunch of questions to dive in to today.
Okay,
and, guys. I just want to say I know nothing about Billy Stanley. I know nothing about him. Can you guys give me some info on Billy Stanley?
Facebook and some others.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Fire away.
Okay, I'm going to let my mom have the honor of the first question here. So I asked her the other day, I said, "Hey, I'm doing this session with Billy. Do you have any questions?" And we did have a chapter or two in the Faith of Elvis book about this question, but I'm going to pose it to you anyway because we're recording this in October. This conversation will release this later this week. And so we're getting into the holiday season. So my mom, Mary McIntyre, asked, how did they celebrate Christmas at Graceland when you were growing up with Elvis?
Christmas, that's our Christmases were, it's kind of hard to describe in a sense. And let me just say, get this out first, and then you'll understand. I lived with a man that tried to make every day like Christmas. The only difference was during Christmas season, we had a tree, and that was it. But, I mean, every day was like Christmas around Elvis. But a typical Christmas at Graceland was about 2 weeks before actual Christmas, we'd put up the tree. And so family and friends would be there, and we'd decorate the tree. And it was always funny, when Priscilla was around, at the end, we put the bulbs and the lights and all this, and they had a stand that the tree was in, and the tree would go around in a real slow circle, and it had Christmas music playing. So we put the tinsel on at the end. And Elvis's thing about tinsel was you grab a handful and you throw it in the air and let it hit the tree. Priscilla was one strand at a time. So there was a big disagreement there about putting the tinsel on, but me, Rick, and David, we always followed Elvis's lead. But it was always funny because the next day we'd come back and look at the tree, and Elvis would always say, well, it looks like the tinsel fairy was here, because a lot of what we put on was gone. So it was a big time for about 2 weeks before Christmas. And then that's when all the presents started going under. Elvis would go Christmas shopping, and it was an awesome sight to see a tree with that many presents under it. So, and then he loved Christmas shopping.
What was that like going Christmas shopping with Elvis? So obviously you have a person here who has the means to buy some nice gifts for people, but then when you combine that with this immense generosity that you talked about in the book so much, that must have been just an absolute blast going shopping with him.
Yeah, I only got to do it once. I mean, that's when I got older. And he was funny because he would actually sit and take time and, he'd look at a shirt or something like that and say, this would really look good on so-and-so. And then, then he might just sit one time, this time I was with him, said, that looks pretty good on me. So he said, I
think I'll take one.
So yeah, I mean, he was fun to shop with, that's for sure. But I mean, he had his list of everybody that he was going to, buy Christmas presents for, and I mean, he went through that list himself. I mean, he actually picked it out himself.
Wow, that's amazing.
I thought that was very cool of him to do that.
Okay, let me dive into. It's going to seem like we're bouncing all over the room here with these different questions. So we have, as of the time of recording this, we have a national election coming up in a couple of weeks. So this question is interesting given sort of our current context. Was Elvis a Republican or a Democrat? This was submitted by Shannon.
Yeah, good question, Shannon. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you like this. The guy went and served his country when he did. I mean, he could have, if he wanted to, taken the easy way out, and but no, he went ahead and he was drafted. He went and served his country. He loved his country. I mean, it was God, country, and family, and that's the way it was in Elvis's order there. To make it that short, just to give a quick answer, he was a Republican. I mean, I remember back in the day, in the late 60s and 70s, people protesting and stuff, say, well, I'm going to leave this country. Elvis was a firm believer in, America, love it or leave it. And there was a few people, like, I think it was Jane Fonda or something was going, I want to leave. Elvis said, I'll buy your plane ticket if you leave. I mean, that's the way he felt. If you didn't love it, then, go try to pull that stuff some other country. You couldn't do it. And that's why you never see any entertainer. They'll threaten it, but they never do.
And then
But no, he loved this country. And I mean, he didn't say anything bad about it. I mean, Vietnam was going on at the time. And, he made that one statement that, he didn't think, he just soon keep it private, what his thoughts were.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't keep it private today. I mean, not the way the world has turned out. There's a big difference in the world in 1972 and 2024.
That's true. That's very true.
No, he would definitely be talking right now, with the way the world is. I mean, it's just like we're on a slide. We're watching it go to hell in a handbasket, and that's the sad thing is, we've all got to do our part to try to, get our country back the way it was.
And maybe that partially explains why Elvis continues to be so relevant, is because there was a purity and a sincerity and a wholesomeness to what he did that people find a lot of solace and comfort in his music and his entertainment and what he stood for. Maybe that explains part of why he's still so popular.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a big part of it. I mean, you listen to his gospel music. I mean, I've had hardcore people tell me, I was never an Elvis fan until I heard his gospel album. I mean, these are hardcore bikers and everybody else. I didn't really care for him, but I heard the gospel, and that's gospel music. I really liked him. Okay, wow, that's great. So.
Okay, here's a question we're going to go on a whole different direction here. Question from Brenda. She said, did Elvis believe that Gladys's ghost guided him all the way to the end?
I know for a fact that he always thought that his mother was with him in every step he took. So, I mean, her clothes were still at Graceland. I mean, I saw them when, shortly after we first moved to Graceland, Elvis took me, Rick, and David on a tour of the house, and we went up to the basement. And there was this big electric train set there. We said, whose is this? He said, this is mine. He said, my mom bought it for me after I became famous because she knew when I was growing up, I always wanted an electric train set, but they could never afford one. So once he got Graceland, she bought him a big electric train set, and he kept it. It was in there, and her clothes was in there in the attic too, because we saw the clothes after our attention was taken away from the train set. We asked, whose clothes are these? He said, these are my mom's. And he said he couldn't bring himself to get rid of them. You know, that's something he couldn't do. So he kept them. And now there was a couple of times. I mean, there was one time in particular where I was sitting at, when we first moved to Graceland, Vernon and I was watching the Late Late Show, not the Late Show, but the Late Late Show in the kitchen, and I heard footsteps. And Elvis was not home. I mean, it was just Vernon, my mom, me, Rick, and David, and that's who was at the house at the time. This was like 1961 or 1960. And I heard these footsteps. I said, who's that? Vernon said, what do you mean? I said, I heard footsteps. No, you didn't hear me. Okay. A couple of minutes later, I heard it again. I said, didn't you just hear that? No, nothing. So the third time I asked, he said, I'm just going to tell you this. He said, don't get scared. He said, we think that's Elvis's mom. She checks in on him every now and then to make sure that he's doing okay. And when I told Elvis about it, he said, Billy, ghosts aren't what you see in movies. They don't come back to do you harm or anything like that. He said, they come back just to check on you and make sure you're okay. Wow. He said, you got nothing to worry about, my mom. She would love you boys. Thank you. I mean, I'm only 7, 8 years old right here. I'm glad to hear that.
So that never concerned you as a kid, thinking that there were possibly ghosts running around Graceland?
I grew up with the fact that, Gladys is there. Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me at all.
I mean, that's a beautiful story.
From what I understand, she was a great woman, and it was nice to have an extra set of eyes watching over you. Yeah. So.
And probably as a kid, it maybe reinforces the idea of, hey, I've got somebody kind of watching me to make sure I don't misbehave too much, and it helps kind of to reinforce good behavior a little bit.
Exactly.
That never hurts at all. Okay, here's a question from Brent, posted on Facebook. Did Elvis do his own Bible study on Sundays, since we know that he wasn't able to go to church? I know he was constantly reading the Bible, and I'm just referring to what he did instead of going to a church service. So, yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
Okay, well, here again, and we touched on it in the book. Elvis didn't go to church for one reason. If he went, the attention would have gone to him and not to the preacher, and he didn't want that. But Elvis had a Bible study pretty much every day. I mean, 7 days a week. It wasn't just on Sundays. It was 7 days a week. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he would call me upstairs for something, and I would get up to his room, and he'd be sitting on his, bed or sitting at his desk, and I'd walk up and say, hey, and then he'd just put his hand up, and he'd be reading. He might take a highlighter or a pen or something and mark what he was doing, and when he got finished, he said, okay. Then we start talking about whatever, why he called me up to his room. And so, but I mean, this was every day. I mean, he was in the Bible every day. So he was 7 days a week.
Much more intensive than just going to church one time a week.
Oh yeah, I mean, sometimes it was funny because in a way he was like a Sunday school teacher for me, Rick, and David too when we was growing up. And the great thing about it was, you know, when he was reading from the Bible, he would actually act out the parts. So when you have that kind of effect on you, he'd be speaking as Jesus. Like, you know, one, for instance, was when Jesus was preaching the Sermon on the Mount, and go ye and preach, you know, the word. You know, I mean, he acted it out, and it was very powerful. Whoa, okay, we got that lesson.
Here's a question related to that one.
Sure.
This one's a little bit more controversial, I think. Linda asks, my question would be, a lot of people question whether Elvis truly is in heaven due to how he read a lot of other books on other religions. In the book that he was reading the morning that he died, she says, I believe that you saw him in heaven. Do you think he made peace with God right before he passed? Just kind of 3 or 4 questions wrapped into one, I guess.
Yeah, well, here again, we get into people want to, they want to judge, you know, go, okay, well, if he was a Christian, you know, he did this, and this. There is no such, I'll tell you right now, there's no such thing as a perfect Christian. We're all fall short of being perfect. Elvis was not perfect. He'd be the first one to tell you. Now, I know what she's talking about, referring to some books that he read, I guess as he was getting old, you know, not older, but because this happened in like the 60s. But he did get into reading some stuff, but he turned back to Jesus. I mean, same thing with Larry Geller. I mean, Larry Geller came in and was talking to him about these, you know, Far Eastern philosophies and stuff like that. And he was interested because Elvis was interested in this because he thirsted for knowledge on the Lord. You know, that, you know, he firmly believed, you know, there's a heaven and hell. And he was going to, you know, it's like when Sammy Davis Jr. asked, he was wearing a Star of David and a cross at the same time. And Sammy Davis Jr. said, isn't that kind of a contradictory in terms? And it was that, I'm not going to miss heaven on a technicality. But yeah, he did read some stuff. And then I remember he burned some books too. This is shortly after we moved to Graceland, because I just happened to be looking out my window, which was facing the backyard, and I saw a big old, kind of like a bonfire. He was throwing a bunch of books in there, and I'm sure it had something to do with some of the occult and stuff like that. Because he was just curious, just like most people are. But then when he found out that it was leading him away from the Lord, then he could get away from it. Now, another thing to this lady's question was, in 1977, before Elvis passed away, when he was doing his last shows and stuff, he met with Rex Humbard and Oral Roberts. So he met with 2 of the biggest Baptist leaders you can think of, you know, in 1977 before he passed away. And nobody was privy to those conversations. Just Elvis and those people walked in the room.
You want to be seen, so you might want to come this
I mean, do I know Elvis is in heaven? Yeah, I saw him there. Yeah. What people call a near-death experience, I call a near-God experience, because, I mean, I saw heaven. So.
And that's exactly how the whole book opens. I mean, literally with that story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he was curious, but I mean, if it led him away from the Lord, then you know, I wouldn't say really study it. He would just, out of curiosity, read about it. And then if it took him away from what it says in the Bible, then he would put it aside or throw it away. So,
okay, I got a couple questions about it. Thank you, by the way. Got a couple questions about the book here. Yeah. Rachel asks, how did you come up with the title of your book, and what inspired you to write it in the first place?
Well, the near-death experience or near-God experience is what inspired me to write it. Because, you know, when I saw Elvis, I mean, we're just going to kind of go through this pretty quickly. When I saw Elvis, it was only for a few seconds. I mean, it felt like a few seconds to me when I was actually dead. I was actually dead for 10 minutes. So after 5 minutes of no blood going to the brain, then you're dead. So, you know, that's when that stops all that. Well, it could have been a dream. No, it wasn't a dream. I know the difference between a dream and this. So when I saw him, I mean, he gave me a hug and said, great to see you. And then the next thing I know, it was like everything closed in on his face. It was getting darker. And he just said, before I left, he said, tell my family, my friends, and fans, I love you. I'll see you when you get here. I said, okay. So that right there kind of resonated with me. And I mean, then I heard God say, no doubt, no fear. Like it said in the book, the great thing about God, when he speaks to you, he doesn't have to explain what he means by it. I knew it immediately what he meant. No doubt, there's a heaven. No fear, this is where you'll be. So, that's pretty much it right there.
And that was really the basis for what led you into doing this book in the first place, right?
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, I wrestled with it for almost. I mean, after that experience,